Welcome to Holmy Horror. I've been waiting for you. The Curse of Blackwater Cove. The storm clawed at the Reaper's wrath, howling through the tattered sails and slamming waves against the hull with the force of cannonballs. Captain Elias Grey clung to the helm, his coat plastered to his skin by the rain. Thunder cracked, illuminating the jagged cliffs of Blackwater Cove just ahead. "Captain, we're tempting fate!" First Mate Harker yelled, his voice barely cutting through the gale. He gripped the railing as though the sea itself would yank him overboard. "Fate's been kind to us so far?" Elias growled, his eyes fixed on the cliffs. "Row, you dogs! The prize is close enough to taste." The crew obeyed grudgingly, pulling against the oars with desperate strength. Despite their captain's bravado, unease hung thick in the air. Blackwater Cove was cursed, a graveyard for ships and sailors alike. Yet the legend persisted. Untold riches lay hidden within its cavernous depths, a treasure that could make a man wealthier than kings. "Captain," Harker said, his voice dropping as he moved closer to Elias. "No one comes back from Blackwater. You've heard the stories. Ghosts, monsters, things worse than drowning. And you think legends scare me?" Elias barked, his eyes cold and unyielding. "The only thing that keeps men like us from the gallows is gold. Now shut your mouth and get to the boats." The ship groaned as it slipped past the treacherous rocks into the cove. The storm quieted abruptly, leaving an eerie silence. The water was black as ink, still and unnatural. "Drop anchor," Elias commanded. The chain rattled, plunging into the abyss. The crew exchanged uneasy glances as they prepared the rowboats. The cliffs loomed like jagged teeth, and the air was heavy, pressing against their lungs. The road to shore was agonizingly slow. Each man strained to hear something beyond the creak of oars or the slap of water. The beach was a narrow strip of black sand littered with driftwood and scattered bones. "Keep your wits about you," Elias warned, stepping onto the shore. The crew hesitated, but Elias's glare sent them trudging toward the cave entrance. The shadows swallowed them whole, the air growing colder with every step. The cavern walls gleamed faintly, slick with moisture. Bones crunched underfoot, brittle and ancient, a grim reminder of those who had come before. "I don't like this," muttered Jonas, one of the younger sailors. His voice echoed, unnerving in the silence. "Then stay behind," Elias snapped, leading the way deeper. The air grew heavier, carrying the faint scent of salt and decay. Soon the cavern widened, and the lanterns revealed piles of treasure. Gold coins spilled across the floor, glittering in the flickering light. Gems the size of fists gleamed like stars among ornate goblets and jewel-encrusted weapons. "Sweet mercy," Harker whispered, his eyes wide. Elias grinned, stepping forward to scoop up a handful of coins. "Mercy has nothing to do with it. This is ours." The men hesitated, as if expecting the treasure to vanish under their touch. When nothing happened, greed overcame caution. They surged forward, shoving coins and jewels into sacks with reckless abandon. "Easy now," Elias warned. "We take what we can carry and get back to the ship." But as the first coin left the chamber, a deep groan echoed through the cavern. The men froze, their eyes darting toward the shadows. "What was that?" Jonas whispered, his voice trembling. The groan grew louder, reverberating through the stone like a living thing. The lantern flames flickered, dimming until the cavern was cast in an eerie twilight. From the far end of the chamber, shadows began to move. "Someone's there," Harker hissed, his hand on his cutlass. "No one should be here," Elias snapped, though his voice carried a note of unease. The shadows took shape, stepping into the dim light. At first, they appeared human. Then the men saw the rotted flesh hanging in strips, the barnacles clinging to discolored limbs. Hollow eyes burned with green fire, and their jagged teeth gleamed like knives. "Defilers," one hissed, its voice like grinding stone. "You dare disturb what is cursed?" The men drew their weapons as the undead surged forward. The first sailor screamed as a rusted blade cleaved into his chest, blood spraying across the gold. "They don't fall," Harker shouted, slashing at a skeletal figure. His blade cut deep, but the creature kept coming, unfazed. The battle descended into chaos. The undead moved with horrifying speed, their strength unnatural. A sailor's head snapped back with a sickening crack as bony fingers gripped his throat. Another was dragged to the ground, his screams choking off as his flesh was torn away. "Back to the boats," Elias roared. But there was no escape. The undead were relentless, their weapons merciless. Jonas's scream cut through the chaos as a creature impaled him, his body twitching before going limp. Elias fought like a man possessed, cutting down anything in his path. He reached Harker, whose sword was locked with the leader of the undead, a towering figure with half its face missing. "Go!" Harker shouted, his voice raw. "Get out of here." Elias hesitated for a fraction of a second. Then he turned and ran. The captain stumbled out of the cave, blood streaking his coat. His chest heaved as he reached the rowboat, the sounds of battle fading into the oppressive silence. "Where's the crew?" a voice rasped. Elias spun, his blade ready, but it was only Jonas, bloodied and pale, dragging himself across the sand. "They're gone," Elias said coldly, yanking Jonas into the boat. "Row." The two men rowed in silence, their eyes locked on the Reaper's wrath. But as they neared the ship, something felt wrong. The deck was eerily quiet, the crew nowhere to be seen. "What the hell?" Jonas muttered. Elias climbed aboard first, his cutlass at the ready. The deck was slick with blood, yet no bodies remained. "We need to leave," Jonas urged, his voice rising. Elias nodded, heading for the helm. But as he turned the wheel, the ship shuddered. A low groan echoed from below deck. "Did you hear that?" Jonas whispered. Elias didn't answer. He moved toward the hatch, throwing it open. The darkness below seemed to breathe, a cold wind rising from the depths. "Light a lantern," Elias ordered. Jonas hesitated but obeyed, lowering the light into the hold. The flickering glow revealed the crew, or what was left of them. Their bodies were pale, bloated, and dripping with seawater. Their eyes snapped open, glowing with the same green fire as the creatures in the cave. "They've followed us," Jonas screamed, stumbling backward. The undead crew surged forward, their movements jerky and unnatural. Jonas was the first to fall, his cries cut short as teeth tore into his throat. Elias ran, his boots slipping on the blood-slicked deck. He reached the helm, yanking at the wheel in desperation, but the ship wouldn't move. A figure stepped into the moonlight. The undead leader from the cave stood before Elias, its grin impossibly wide. "You thought you could escape the curse?" it rasped. Elias slashed at it, but the creature caught the blade, snapping it in half. "Your greed has doomed you," it hissed, "and now you'll join us." The green fire flared, consuming Elias's vision. He screamed as his flesh melted away, his body contorting and breaking until he was unrecognizable. At dawn, the Reaper's wrath drifted silently out of Blackwater Cove. Its sails hung limp, its deck eerily still. A passing merchant ship slowed as it neared the ghostly vessel. "Looks abandoned," the captain mused. "Shall we investigate?" "No," his first mate replied, his voice tense. "Let it drift." As the merchant ship sailed away, faint cries echoed from the Reaper's wrath. Below deck, the cursed crew stirred, their hollow eyes blazing. They waited, ready to greet the next fools drawn to Blackwater Cove by greed and whispered tales of fortune. Thanks for watching, and don't forget to subscribe for more chilling stories. And remember, be careful. I'll be watching you.